Now we invite you to our question and answer section with our two presenters. The discussion will be 20 to 25 minutes. Our speakers will be asked a few questions that address the issue of parenting in a gender-based violence environment. The Q&A will be moderated by my colleague, Melissa Clark. Please go ahead, Melissa.
Hi, thanks, Anne. Hello, everyone. My name is Melissa Clark, and as Anne said, I will be moderating our question and answer section. So I will pose a question to our speakers to generate some discussion on parenting in gender-based violence environment and gather their thoughts and opinions on the issue. If you have a question you want to ask, please put the question in the chat and I will ask it to our guest speakers. We will try to get as many questions as possible, and if we don't get to your question, please reach out to us at the MFRC and we will be happy to explore your question with them directly. So on to our first question. So the first question we have is, what gender GBV trends or issues are you seeing in Nova Scotia? Megan, did you want to try that one?
Sure.
Put you on the spot.
No worries. So yeah, what trends of parenting issues? So I would say the biggest trend that I see, or the biggest struggle, is like overcompensating, feeling like my child has gone through this and what's supposed to be a home that I'm supposed to provide that's supposed to be safe. And so a lot of parents feel they need to overcompensate, and that includes basically, kind of letting the child run the house. And while that's so understandable, it really gets rid of those important things like routine and discipline and helping a child grow. So it's kind of like that balancing act of being there for the child, being validating, understanding what they're going through, but at the same time still providing that routine and discipline. So for me, that's what I see a lot in sort of the homes. I'm not sure if Amanda has something different.
Hi, sure, thanks. So something I've noticed a lot of the same, but something that else I've noticed that happens a lot is especially when a parent is ready to kind of embark on the healing journey and everything, wanting as many services as possible, as soon as possible. And while I get it, I totally understand, that might also create a bit of overwhelm for everyone, for parent, for kids. And so kind of maybe even working with the counselors, if you've chosen to reach out to a DV shelter, working with the counselors to even just my mouth isn't working, to break that down a bit and simplify it for yourself and prioritize, and being able to prioritize. And that's something really powerful that women's support counselors and children youth support counselors, parenting support counselors can do, is kind of break down that overwhelm into sizable chunks that are easily digestible.
Oh, good. Thank you so much for those really great answers. My second question, so we'll put Amanda on the spot first this time. So what are some specific challenges that you're seeing with parents trying to parent in a GBV environment?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges is taking care of everything and everyone, and often, because of the nature of gender-based violence, I'm going to use mom here, but mom is often putting herself very last when she needs to be very first. And so often I see mom making sure everyone's okay, just like she always has, and forgetting to make sure that she's okay. And she's just the most instrumental piece in this whole puzzle. Her healing is so powerful to the overall healing of the family unit.
Thank you. Megan, did you have anything you wanted to add as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest take homes, like Amanda said, is the importance of self-care and putting the parent first. But I would also say a big challenge is recognizing that in order to heal from something, everybody needs to heal. So one thing that the Mi'kmaq Family Healing Center and also the Autumn House does is they have men's workers. And so having the philosophy of the whole family unit is important. And I think it's a challenge because sometimes we don't think about that. Sometimes we think we just need to fix the child, fix the mom, fix. We often see that with kiddos, right? Fix my kid. But it's really important to kind of look at the whole family environment and work with everybody.
Awesome, thank you.
And sorry, I just wanted to quickly add in there, everything Megan said, yes, yes, yes. And then I also want to extend a lot of grace and patience and understanding to mom in this situation, because at this point she's probably worrying about filling out applications for income, applications for housing, applications for this and lawyers and this and that. And so it makes sense that self-care isn't a priority. It makes sense. And so when I speak of that, it is not to instill any kind of guilt or shame or anything in someone who's really struggling to juggle all of the pieces. And that is totally understandable. So I'm talking in a picture perfect ideal world, take care of yourself first, mom, but like probably that's gonna, take the back seat to some of these other priorities at first. And I get it. And there's no guilt or shame in that. We're all doing the best we can with what we have at the time. So
awesome.
I was just going to add to, when we talk about self-care, and I'm sure Amanda would agree with me here, self-care is not always about take a bubble bath, have bath bombs, take yourself on a magical vacation. All of those really kind of intense, like self-care can be it's varied, and it can depend on the person. And it could be a matter of taking 5 minutes to watch your favorite TV show, or it can be laying in bed and just letting all your tears flow without any interruptions. It could be, so different for everybody. So I really want people to remember that we're not saying, go home and take a bubble bath. We're saying it can look different for everybody.
My self-care is hiding in the closet to drink a glass of water by myself.
Mine is sitting in my car on my way home for the first 10 minutes before I get out of my car. That's mine. So you guys have some really great things. So what can be done to support these parents? That's a big question.
Yeah. So there, obviously we're here today. THANS is a really big support. There's shelters across Nova Scotia that provide outreach services, in-house services, crisis calls. Other supports are within the schools, especially for all the kiddos. Like Schools Plus is really good. They've got outreach workers, they've got social workers, nurses, everything. So they can be a really good support. And then also kind of just, I really like to have, whenever I get the chance to work with parents, I like to do the support maps, just because sometimes you're surprised at how many people in your life are really there for you and are supportive of you. And sometimes we can get lost in the I'm alone, I'm isolated, I've got no one. And then when you start to see, oh, well, I've got this friend here and that friend there, and I've got some online support here. And that's the other thing. Facebook groups can be really supportive. Social media can definitely have its downfalls, but there's a lot of support for people all over the world.
Wonderful. Amanda, do you have anything you'd like to add?
I would, but I forgot the question.
So it's kind of that second part of what can be done to help support these parents.
Right. Yeah. I think just a really basic way is to be very responsive every time they choose to reach out. And that's something that we strive to do. There's no judgment if you reach out and you're like, oh, not yet. And then you reach out a bit later and, you know, we totally understand that. I do believe the national average right now is 10. I think it's 7 or 10 for how many times somebody leaves an abusive situation before they leave for good. And it's 7, yeah. And so I think it's really important to know that we understand that, and there's no judgment there at all. And then also, I think extending a lot more empathy and compassion to the amount of strength and courage it takes to make changes, and to understand that what you're going through is not okay, and that I think we just as a society need to be a softer place for people to land, really. I know that's such a big generalized thing to say, but it can be a pretty hard landing for some people sometimes. And so I think if we just approached everything with softness and gentleness, I think we'd just all be a lot better off.
I love that. So we are still in a pandemic, so they seem to think we're coming out of it. But one of our questions is, how has the pandemic impacted parents trying to parent in a GBV environment?
Okay, I can. So, I mean, it's definitely changed the dynamics of a lot of things, including how we operated for a while. Whereas I was so used to working with the kiddos all the time, one-on-one, and then, you know, connecting with mom every so often. And then I did a lot more parenting support throughout the pandemic, just because kiddos really couldn't handle the phone or Zoom or anything like that. We tried, and it just wasn't sustainable while we weren't doing face-to-face things. And so I did a lot of parenting support. And I think community and connection is so important for not only healing, but surviving and for existing. And we're born social creatures and built for connection. And to have that be taken away and to be forced into isolation and seclusion and all of that, not only just for one sustainable time, but like glimpses of not being in that situation anymore, and then, oh, just kidding. I think it's taken a huge toll. And so I think we learned a lot in terms of how much community means and how much connection means. I just saw your question, Anne, and I had more contact with parents throughout the pandemic and less contact with children throughout the pandemic. However, as an overall number, it was more families than pre-pandemic.
Yeah, I'll speak to that as well. So within my role, I strictly, within my current role, I should say, I strictly work with kids, children and youth. So during the pandemic, for me, it was about, trying as hard as I could to navigate the Zoom. But Amanda's very, very right in that it's very challenging, especially the younger the child is. But yeah, we actually just went over our statistics today in a staff meeting, and our numbers did go up during the pandemic. And I think, Amanda said it all. It affected our operations. It affected people being isolated. As humans, we are like that. That social belonging is huge in our wellness, and so without that, I really think that the pandemic really did have an impact on our mental health, and therefore we did see more escalated gender-based violence. So yeah, but Amanda, that was yes, yes, yes.
So I know we're down to about 10 more minutes. So I really wanted to get to ask you the question, both of you, and you can kind of think a little bit in between, is can you review some key strategies for parents in a gender-based violence situation? We're always wanting to give people like a takeaway or something to kind of ponder a little bit. And sometimes strategies, those really great strategies I know you both have. So whoever would like to start first.
I can go. So for me, the take home would be the routine piece, because it is really important for a child to have some predictability, some predictability within the home. It doesn't have to be, sometimes when we think about routine, we think, okay, we're telling the parent to put up this big fancy schedule and they have to keep record of, all these activities and everything else. But routine can simply be, this is when we get up, this is when we go to bed, this is when we have supper. And to try to keep that routine as much as possible really allows the child some sense of safety. And again, the take home, and I think everybody will take this home, which is mom needs to take care of herself. It's really important that as parents, we take care of ourselves. And that can mean, seeking help. That can mean taking time for ourselves. That can mean reaching out, that sort of thing. So those are my two main pieces.
Awesome. Go ahead, Amanda.
I clicked the unmute and it didn't work, but here I am. So yes, all of that structure, routine, predictability is something that's often a struggle in a home where there is violence, is the predictability piece often is not there. And so creating predictability in anywhere, in any place you can, is huge in terms of making children feel as safe as you possibly can make them feel. And then also something that my manager likes to say and has said recently is be mindful of the energy you bring. So oftentimes I find my reaction to my daughter's behaviors are more about how I'm feeling in that moment and less about what she's actually doing. And so being mindful that my cup is empty today, and, maybe I'm not going to approach this situation in the healthiest way because I'm done. And then even taking a moment and like Megan had said, putting on your oxygen mask and hiding in the closet and having a drink of water and just like breathe for a sec and then go back to the situation. But being mindful of the energy you're bringing to the situation and asking yourself, because there are certain behaviors you're going to see in children who have experienced violence in the home. And often they are challenging behaviors, and it is very triggering. And so asking yourself, am I co-escalating this situation, or am I co-regulating this situation? So just overall, just being really mindful of the energy you're bringing to that particular situation.
Awesome.
I just wanted to add to, like, you know, the other, I guess, one of the biggest things is that it is okay to have those moments. So, you know, a lot of parents don't want to disclose, oh, I'm just done. But it is okay. I mean, kids are difficult on a good day. So it's okay to be done. It's okay to have those moments. It's okay to need to put on your oxygen mask. I just wanted to kind of remind everybody of that too.
And sorry, I'm also going to pop in, and can I tell you that I have sat on the bed with my 3.5-year-old after I have raised my voice and not kept my cool, and I have not been mindful of my energy, and I totally co-escalated the situation, and sat side by side with my daughter afterwards and said, whew, Mom has some pretty big feelings, and I didn't deal with that very well, did I? And she's like, no. And we talk that through, and I own that. I own when I when I didn't do the best that I could, and I recognize after, like, whew, I didn't do that very well, did I? Like, I gotta work on that, huh? And she's like, yeah, Mom, you gotta work on that. And I'm like, oh yeah, I know. So I mean, we all, even those of us who sound like we're probably always Mary Poppins and stuff, like, I'm not. I have a cup that runs dry too.
So thank you both for being really honest and sharing that kind of stuff, so that those who are here or watching can really understand that they're not alone, that we all have those feelings as parents. The MFRC, so just a couple of things about the MFRC can offer for military families for supports and services to help families cope with issues of violence, to access supports for the mental health and well-being team. Families can call our main number, which is 902-427-7788, and ask to speak to an intake worker. The intake worker can complete an intake, and then we'll ask you a few questions about your situation, and then they will refer you to a family well-being counselor. All supports and services are free and confidential. We never share any of your information with any family members, the CAV member, or the chain of command. Once you meet with a family well-being counselor, you and the counselor will determine the best plan for you. So, and thanks, Margaret, for switching the slide to the resources. So we'd also like to share with you some of the important resources that were shared in the presentations this evening for those of you who may want to know about specific supports and services in the community to help someone you may know experiencing gender-based violence. If you are experiencing an emergency, you, of course, can call 911. You can call or text the Transition House Association Nova Scotia at the number on the screen for supports and services as well. The Halifax and Region Military Family Resource Center has a mental health and well-being team, of course, we just talked about them, that offers short-term supports and services like crisis supports to family members 16 years and older. And of course, to access those supports, you call the 902-427-7788 number and ask to speak to the intake worker Monday to Friday, 8 to 4. ShelterSafe.ca provides information to help connect women and their children across Canada with the nearest shelter for safety and support. FamilySmart.ca helps children and young people by helping their families and others caring adults. Selfreg.ca provides resources to parents and educators on recognizing stress in your child, that causes the cause of stress, and how to manage stress and how to deal with the challenges of parenting. Children, youth, and young adults from a military family can access free mental health and well-being supports by texting Kids Help Phone. The key word is CAV Kids, so CAFKIDS at 686868 for service in English, and it is a 24/7 e-mental health service.
All right, well, thank you so much, ladies. What a wonderful discussion that you had on parenting in a gender-based violence scenario. Thank you so much for all of your insights. We certainly appreciate that. So we would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank everyone who has attended this evening for your time and your interest in tonight's topic and question and answering discussion with Amanda, Megan, and Melissa. We would like to specifically thank our two distinguished presenters, Amanda and Megan, for the incredible work that each of you do daily to support and protect the women and children in your care escaping gender-based violence. Your thoughtful insights on gender-based violence and cultural parenting tips, tools, and strategies will help inform and support parents trying to cope in these situations. Both of you have helped us all become much more knowledgeable and aware of this issue impacting so many parents. One of the main highlights for me of the presentations is that parents are never alone in these situations. There's organizations like the Transition Homes of Nova Scotia and the Halifax and Region MFRC that will play a critical role in supporting families that may experience gender-based violence, and together we all seek to make families much more stronger and resilient. All of tonight's information will be sent out to all the participants in an email in the coming days with the highlights from tonight's topic and resources. We've also recorded tonight's program and it will be available shortly on the MFRC YouTube channel. I would also like to send out a specific thank you to our producer tonight, Margaret McKenzie, who did a wonderful job behind the scenes. So on behalf of all of us, Margaret, thank you so much for your participation tonight and your guidance and support in the program. So good night, everyone, and thank you so much for attending. Good night.
And thank you, Anne.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.